hit record and
Yeah.
we'll start vibing. All right. Okay. So we trained at 8 a.m. this morning. By the way, it's 11:15. We trained at 8 a.m. this morning. Small group of people. I started doing this with Nakapan from Beta Academy and a couple dudes from DMA who compete pretty regularly in a little more of like a serious professional type environment. We did it informally for a little more than a year, and we were messing around with the timing for when we were gonna do it, and dude, for better or worse, and I think for you it's better. It's better for me too. It's better for everyone, but the for worst part in quotes is that we picked 8 a.m. on a Saturday, which means usually for me I'm up at 6 a.m. I like to get up a couple hours early. I don't. Today, because I was at Nate's fight last night and ate some food kind of late, got back late and slept for like 4 hours, woke up. I slept in a little bit, which I usually don't do, but I had to get some type of sleep. I actually slept decent, but whatever. Usually I'm up at 6, pound a bunch of cups of coffee, take a few shits.
Naturally. You
have to. I mean,
you don't want to do it on the
You don't want to do it on the mat. Maybe it's the first recording if we were... Let's use this as a test. I don't know if I want to start talking about my turds.
No.
It's good content. I mean, whatever. Turds. Anyways, but yeah, so 6 a.m., coffee up, ready to go, feeling nice. And usually I go and I actually feel kind of awake. I'll put it this way, like what I was saying earlier. I think for me, for sure, for the others, it's a bit of a like, we're going at 8 a.m. because we actually care about what we're doing and we're rather serious. And so, like, if that means you need to do some fewer things on a Friday, kind of prioritize. Are we prioritizing training or are we prioritizing going out partying, doing crazy shit? We're prioritizing training.
Well, yeah, I think there's a big thing with that. Like, I mainly do 5:30 classes throughout the week, and so there is a big difference in the people that go about their day and then go to an evening class versus in terms of there is a amount of keeping yourself honest to your training in having to wake up at 4 in the morning, 5 in the morning, 6 in the morning to go out and train, especially from a competition aspect. So
yeah,
for sure, you need to be able to keep yourself honest with it, but also dedicate it, right?
Agreed. And most of our competitions in jiu-jitsu, at least, are on Saturdays. And when you go to some of these IBJJF tournaments, for example, obviously there's a bunch of different tournaments, but IBJJF, they usually do black or brown belts earlier in the day. So there's a bit of an alignment with the way we're training, the time we're training, and then a lot of times when we're going to compete. Man, granted, this is a little earlier than that, but it just fits. So, as I said, we started doing it informally. We were messing around with timing. There's times we've gone in at 7 or 7:30 in the morning. I'm like, all right, this is too crazy. It's too crazy. So we went with 8. Eight's a good, reasonable time. That all right, 6 is early, but it's not crazy early. You know what I mean? I wake up personally at 6 or 6:30 most days of the week anyway. So for me, it's just another day of the week. And I'll put it this way: for workload and things I'm trying to do on Saturdays, it's usually a little bit lighter anyways. I have weekends, but I work all the time, so it's sort of when I want to take time. If I wanted to take time off, I'd take time off, but I want to do this. So do the other guys. Andrea, she comes every Saturday. She competes, she's been competing a lot, and she's done a great job in the last couple of years, and so she fits perfectly for this group. She works super hard, super disciplined. Eric's the same way. Dude's just on top of all this. She's got 3 kids, wife, business owner. He's just he's dialed in. Plus, he's also usually got kid stuff in right afterwards anyways. So it's he's going to soccer. He's going to all kinds. Dude's agenda is packed. So this is and he's just a disciplined guy. He won Euros. He won national. He's just also extremely good and competitively successful. So there's just a certain dynamic that I think fits well for that format. And then Khaldun, who you've met a couple times, very disciplined, another hardworking kid who he competes in jiu-jitsu quite a bit. He just got his purple belt, so he's come a long way in that space. But he's an MMA fighter, first and foremost. That's what is his real ambition. his focus is on increasing his jiu-jitsu competence within that world.
Yeah, we were talking about that a couple weeks ago when I was by at the gym, and we were talking about his like projections, what he wants to do, and
Right.
Kind of how many more amateur fights he wants to do, how the frequency he likes fighting.
He
at,
would
which
fight.
Is almost
He would fight
his-
every day if you let him, but obviously you gotta like
a little to his detriment, right?
Yeah, well, you just gotta like. I mean, he's much better now than he was 2 years ago. I mean, he's just like get me in the game. But anyways, he just like say culturally like for that training that time slot, it makes a ton of sense for him to be there too. Brings a lot of value to the room. And then Carter comes in. Carter's a black belt. He's a teacher, so he's used to getting up early as hell too to get into school. So it's just like it makes sense. And then I mentioned earlier, Nakapan, same thing. Business owner, Nakapan's amazing at jiu-jitsu, like truly very good at it, and wins a shitload. He's awesome, and he's also a business owner, also a family man. So it's just like he would also do it at 7 a.m. if we needed to. If he had his druthers, he probably would. Him and Eric would be like, we could do this at 6:30. Like, guys.
Saturday, man, we gotta sleep in.
Just sleep. I wouldn't even call it sleep in. Just let me sleep to where I'm actually a valuable asset when I show up.
Well, yeah, I know. Like coming here this morning, I normally get up at 4, maybe a little bit earlier, but today I got to sleep into a nice 5 a.m.
Wow.
So it was real good for me.
Such luxury.
Yeah, it was luxurious for
Yeah.
sure. I
Well-
almost slept till 6. It was a close one.
Dang.
I thought about it.
Wow.
But I said, no,
But
I gotta
no,
get
not
up.
today.
I have things
Well,
to do.
And so something that I'll tip my hat to Nakapan for this. We've done lots of training sessions where there've been. Well, I'll put it like this. Like so, for all the reasons I've already mentioned, where this is like an intentional training session with the purpose being getting dudes who compete more prepared to compete, or like Carter. Carter competes, but not as much as the rest of us. But he's there both for that. He wants to be a better competitor when he does compete, but he also just wants to sharpen his skills. He's a black belt. Like it makes a lot of sense for him to be there. But putting this in like a competition format, the hour or so that we spend on the mat has become, and you saw that this morning. We could talk a little bit about this too if you want to like get into like how your experience, my experience, and how this has kind of impacted competition or even just training in general, like performance. I'll say it that way. We've made our training sessions almost exclusively all situational. We'll do a warm up that's something generic, some takedowns, just to get the blood flowing a little bit, get all the joints moving, and then we go through sets of positions or entanglements with legs, you name it, and there's a specific theme rather than like I'm going to start in your guard and we're just going to go for 5 minutes because that's fine,
Yeah.
but it's like we're going to go into your guard, but this is the objective. I'm going to start in your half guard. Here's how we're going to determine it. Well, it's intentional. It's like this. We're in half guard. I'm going to smash down and get my chest connected to your chest, and we'll be very targeted sometimes. Like that's the skill. If you do that, you won the drill. Where things get funny, and this is why I always like ask Carter. So we depending on how many dudes are in the room, and like knowing it's an hour, and we all want like there's both the skill aspect. That's going to be there no matter what. But there's also a bit of a like, all right, we want to work hard. We want to be tired. I want to be tired when I'm done with this. So we have to format it so that no one's really getting a ton of rest. There's some rest is
you have to
necessary.
keep-
You got to
keep
stay
it
busy. You
moving,
got to stay
yeah.
busy. And that's the idea. So a little bit of it gets kind of wacky when we have, we'll say odd numbers versus even numbers, and then because this is a medium-sized group, it's not small, but it's not big. And there's a good variety of training partners. We want to mix and match a little bit too. Like today we had an even number. There was 6 of us, and with that we did the 3 minutes. Stay with the same partner. Timer goes off. Then we do, and if it's single leg X, we pick a position. We'll do that twice, so we get a little variety. Like we're gonna get 2 training partners per situation, and then until you win, in quotes, the objective of the role. Now in this setting, because it's an even number, and like we have a scheduled rotation, if you will. we play it out, right? You win, you just go back and forth, offense, defense, depending on the position you're in. 50-50, for example, it's 50-50, and we're both kind of going for the same thing. But anyway,
like
someone
a lot
wins.
of the time we
switch
going,
legs.
Yeah, we'd switch sides, switch top and bottom.
Right.
Yeah.
When there's an odd number, we'll mess around with it. We'll do more of like a winner stays it. Same concept with the technical side of things. Mike, you're in, and your bottom half guard. If you win the goal, whatever the goal is, you stay in for 2-3 rounds or something like that. Maybe sometimes it's you just stay in until you don't win, and you just get a little tired. Like one of us has to kind of like
King of the Hill
format, and then anyways we'll have, if it's an odd number, we'll do like the one dude goes out and he may get like 15, 25, 35 seconds. If everyone's battling it out, he might get 4 seconds. So it's good. It gives you that difficulty of training. You know, you're getting a little push. You're not really getting a break. It's only an hour, so like if you structure it the right way, it can be a really good, efficient training session. And you're still doing this in like a technical way, so it checks a lot of boxes. And so, anyways, yeah, I don't know if you're gonna say something there.
Yeah, no, I've actually started taking this since I started coming to the y'all's competition sessions. I've actually started taking this drill format and actually applying it in like curriculum classes with like the general public, I guess you would call it. And it actually gets a lot of traction there too, because people will do the move or whatever position we're working on, and then we just take them like, all right, so we're gonna put you in this position. Say it's Kimura's, right? Hey, I'm gonna put you in bottom half. Your person in bottom half has the Kimura. Person on top, you need to deconstruct this. Person on bottom, you just have to finish. You know, so they're defending it and get out. So like similar thing, but reinforcing techniques that we just worked on, using it as well. So I mean, we're able to apply it outside of this competition focus. And
Have
so
you
it's a good
noticed
drill.
any difference with your students, or is it a little early to tell?
It's a little early to tell. We started doing, I mean, it's only been a couple weeks of like this specific drill type. But I mean, I definitely see them being more intentional. So like, it's early to tell, but seeing them be more intentional even after that. So like, we'll go into open rolling afterwards, and you start to actually see them be more intentional in their movements, and rather than just doing what they always do and just getting by, or they're actually focusing on a move or a technique and starting to apply things or starting to reverse engineer things. So it definitely is like opening up the thought process, which is good too. So even for people that aren't necessarily competition minded or like super high level, it's giving them that bit of exposure to that, to where now they're starting to think conceptually versus Rolodexing moves.
Yeah, I get it, and it'll pay off. Obviously, I'm sure as time goes on, you will see that with your students. And if it's already working, cool, that's great. But to that point, what I like about it is there's 2 things to it. The first one is that you give them whatever the scenario is. There's a skill, concept, call it whatever you want. There's something that they know they have to do when, let's use the same scenario, like bottom players in Kimura, top players caught in Kimura. Bottom players attacking Kimura, top players defending. You know, when they find themselves in those situations when they're rolling, they've done a lot of drilling where, whether they're aware of it or not, they're actually executing a specific skill that's developed. Call it muscle memory, whatever. Maybe some people learn different ways. Maybe they just understand it when they're going in a live round and sparring, competition, whatever, in class. They're dealing with that situation competently, rather than, not that someone wouldn't pick this stuff up from just aggregating tons of data when they just free flow, but a free flow attitude might take much longer for someone to get what they need to do when they're in that situation.
Yeah,
you understand what I'm saying?
A lot of the time when you do, especially flow rolling, right? Like sometimes if you're going with the same person all the time, you end up going through the same sequences all the time, and you don't actually develop awareness or like specific techniques, because you just go, pass guard, knee on belly, Kimura to arm bar, they escape, and like you kind of create a sequence flow versus like actually developing technique, because you just know, all right, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna intentionally fail to allow them to do this, or I'm going to go to the finish, then let them escape. And so you start to develop more of a pipeline versus like actually developing technique and game plan and strategy. And so like I think this does a better job of developing that part of like your game. You actually start planning, and one of the things I was just writing down was actually like you start to learn how to how to actually do a game plan and gaming. You know, hey, I need to get my chest to their chest so that I can get my underhook and start squashing them. Or hey, I actually want to back up and fight that knee shield. And so you actually start creating more of a game versus I'm just going to do this move, because you can't just create the move. It's not there. You need to work towards a specific spot to then move on to everything else.
That was going to be my example too, actually. I was going to say.
Mind melded.
Yours what?
I said we're mind melded.
We're mind melded. Minds have melded. But again, another shout out to Nakapan who brought a lot of this into the room. I believe we first started doing that. Well, what I first started doing doesn't matter. One of the things that exact concept linked for me was around the half guard chest to chest pressure thing, drilling format. That was the goal. It was like, all right, you either for defending, like it's separating chest to chest, creating space, or on top it's like crushing through, getting chest to chest, and then scoring off of it. It got me to where, in many guard passing situations for me, I simplified all of the many different variables and ways I could attack the guard into, all right, well, maybe I just focus on crashing through whatever defenses they've put in front of me to bring my chest in, smash them, and then from there I'm like, I've done this so many times. Once I get my chest on this dude, I'm passing his guard.
Yeah.
And to me, it doesn't really matter what version of the guard pass I want to go with. Once I've gotten that chest pressure, I'm pretty confident that I'm going to get it because I've done it so many times. So to me, it's like, all right, I just got to get my chest in there.
Before that, you're not actually in step one, right? So like you're working to get to step one to then actually implement your game plan, and rather than trying to, all right, I'm in this position, I need to accept this position and go. It's, hey, I'm in this position, but my game plan starts at this point, not where I am now. You know, it might be, hey, I need to get from headquarters to leg weave to work. I can't start from headquarters. That's not where it starts, or whatever, you know?
Yeah, I do know what you mean. Like, there's a simplicity to it that I like, which I tell people this all the time when they're going in to compete or whatever, which is that, like, you want to plan. You want to plan, and the simpler the plan, the better. And then, you know, that sounds easy. It's not so easy to do, even if it is simple. Simple doesn't mean easy, but it's all right. So I tell them that, like, all right, you want to develop a game plan, and then that's like your homework. All right, think of your game plan. Keep it simple. Shit that you know to do. Most people, and then especially if they're new, they don't know how to do any of that. But it's still kind of like go work on it. I know you're not going to do that great of a job, but it's okay. I don't expect you to. You're brand new.
When sometimes you can tell them, like after
I tell them all the time.
Tell them this.
Here is your game plan. Yeah. I do that all the time. Where I'm just like, no, just do this. You're going to take him down. You're going to pass the guard. You're going to get the back mount.
Well, and sometimes brand new person. Hey, your game plan right now. If you're going with someone that's higher level than you, rather than focusing on, I'm just getting smashed, say, hey, my game plan is I'm going to knee elbow escape. I'm going to get back to square one, get back to guard, and survive. Because you don't have to worry. You don't have to win the total thing yet. You're going against someone who's been doing this longer than you. Focus on winning that little thing, and you're going to get a lot better.
We call that tempering expectations,
yeah.
And I agree with that. Yeah, no, you're right, and that's a valid point, and but it kind of comes back to the concept, which is just the game plan. Like if I know I'm going against some, I don't know, if I know there's a mismatch, and maybe my game plan isn't like, I'm going to get to this 280-pound ADCC world champion's back, and I'm going to fucking choke him. Maybe the game plan is like, all right, don't get submitted, and try to confine this motherfucker to guard and half guard. Just an example. It's a little more defensive, but perhaps a lot more attainable. But it's nonetheless, it's like, all right, the game plan. have a realistic game plan, be able to implement it, keep it simple, keep the fight as contained within that. I did mention this morning too. Keep it within what you want to do, and less is more. Like you don't need to be doing all these things, and that was why I brought up the chest to chest thing. Like if just to kind of call it back to what I was saying earlier, where offensively, let's change the scenario a little bit. If I'm in a division. It's more competitive. It's against guys my size, guys my skill level, and I'm like, all right, I intend to win. I'm not going in with a defensive. I don't want to die game plan. I'm going in with like I'm going to kill them game plan.
Yeah.
This is how I'm going to be attacking. When I'm looking at someone's guard, and I'm like, all right, like there's so many things. There's so many ways to approach this. I don't want to be thinking about all the different ways when I'm in a match, and I'm watching the clock go down. And if you think and you stop too much, the other person's going to attack you. You should assume they will.
Yeah.
Right? You should assume that the
They should
voids
be,
in the
at least.
activity. Yeah, 100% they should be. Well, anyways, I'm there. I'm like, all right. So rather than like, oh, do I do a knee cut? Do I do all this stuff? It's like, all right, I'm just gonna keep this simple. I'm gonna crush this dude, and I'm gonna get to his chest. The end.
Yeah, I mean that's how I won. I won gold at IBJJF a couple months back. Was I knew I could take the guy down. I got him down, got my 2. And then he wanted to play guard, and I know, hey, if I can control the hips, now I can start working. It doesn't matter how slow it goes, as long as I'm sitting there working and breaking it. Eventually, it's gonna be my game now. He's not dictating. I can't sit there and just keep posturing up, letting him take arms. I just need to go to where I like to pass, and then as long as you're continuing to move, it can take you 2-3 minutes, especially if you're up.
This is the value of wrestling and takedowns, because when you do that and you've already gotten your 2, I'll put it really simple. I mean, you might want to be more ambitious in this, but like we're looking at winning a tournament, and if you haven't competed in a while, you're like, yeah, I just want to get out here and get some W's. Like learn how to win again, learn how to play the game, gaming.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're just trying to get in and learn how to win and fight again. Simple game plan. Look, if you can take a guy down, you take him down, and then it's at that point you're talking about just neutralizing his guard. You've already kind of won the match. I say this all the time to people. I'm like, if you get the 2 points, if nothing else happens, you're winning the match. That other dude's got to make something happen. The burden's on him. So if he's in there, again, takedowns, they rule. If you're listening to this, do takedowns.
Well, what is it? 85% of matches are won by the guy who puts it on the ground, or something like that.
I didn't know that stat.
That might not be the right.
Sounds
stat,
about right. No, let's go with it.
We'll go with the 85%.
You may have made that up, but it vibes.
Yeah.
But you're there, and then look, that dude. All you need to do, again, as I said a moment ago, you can be more ambitious. There's nothing wrong. You should be a little more ambitious, especially your level. But nonetheless, dude, like I've been in lots of matches where the first round of the tournament, you just want to get the win. You got much more going on here, and like as this stuff gets easier and easier for you, you just like you increase the expectations. But hit that takedown. If that guy can't do anything, you've already won. Your job is like, I'm just gonna stop this dude's guard from doing anything, and like, don't stall. They'll yell at you if you stall. You know that, but whatever. You get the point. Like he's got to do some shit here.
Well, and if he stops working, then they call stalling on him. That's actually what happened in the match. Is neutralize their guard to the point and working enough for the pass, and actually, especially if you can successfully break and work to pass, and all they're doing is just locking it back up, then they're going to call stalling on them too, because they can't just sit there and hold you if they're down. So, to your point, but
hell yeah, takedowns, intentional training. That was good.
Yeah.
All right.